The stars looked cold and distant from the bridge of the Velthari warship. Commander Veltos stood before the massive viewing screen, his 6 arms folded behind his back as he watched the small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness. Earth looked so tiny from here, so weak and helpless. The humans living on that world had no idea what was coming for them. Veltos turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the quantum fusion device," he said in his deep, rumbling voice. The officer's tentacles danced across the control panel as he activated the weapon. On the screen, a small metal object floated out from the ship's belly. It was no bigger than a house, but inside it held enough power to crack a planet in half. "The device is ready, Commander," the weapons officer reported. "Shall I target their largest population center?" "No," Veltos replied. "Drop it anywhere on the surface. It does not matter where. The entire planet will be gone in 3 days." He watched as the bomb began its journey toward Earth. Soon, another world would bow to the Velthari Empire, just like all the others. Far below on Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo Kim was working late in his laboratory at the Seoul Advanced Physics Institute. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he did not notice. The numbers on his computer screen were too interesting. He was studying strange energy patterns that had been detected in space, and something about them did not make sense. His research partner, Dr. So-Young Park, walked into the lab carrying 2 fresh cups of coffee. "You have been here for 12 hours, she said, setting 1 cup beside his keyboard. "When did you last eat something?" Hyunwoo looked up from his screen and smiled. "Food can wait. Look at this." He pointed to a series of wavy lines on his monitor. "These energy readings came from our deep space sensors. They show something big moving toward Earth, but it is not moving like a normal asteroid." So-Young sat down and studied the data. She was one of the best scientists in Korea, and Hyunwoo trusted her opinion more than anyone else's. After a few minutes, she frowned. "This is very strange. The object is giving off energy patterns I have never seen before. They look almost artificial." "That is what I thought too," Hyunwoo said. "But artificial means someone made it. And if someone made it and sent it toward Earth..." He did not finish the sentence. They both knew what he was thinking. The next morning, alerts began, going off in military bases around the world. The object in space was getting closer, and it was definitely not a natural asteroid. General Tae-ho Shin was in his office at the Korean Defense Ministry when his aide burst through the door. "Sir, we have a problem," the young officer said, his face pale with worry. "The Americans have confirmed it. Something big is heading for Earth, and it will arrive in less than 48 hours. General Shin put down his morning newspaper and looked at the officer. "How big?" "About the size of a small building, sir. But it is moving too fast and in too straight a line to be natural. Intelligence thinks it might be some kind of weapon." The general stood up and walked to his window. Outside, the streets of Seoul were full of people going about their normal lives. They had no idea that something from the stars might be coming to hurt them. "Where will it hit?" "The mountains north of Seoul, sir. We are evacuating the area now." General Shin nodded. "Good. And get me Dr. Kim from the Physics Institute. If this thing is artificial, we need our best scientists to look at it." 2 days later, the object crashed into the mountains with a sound like thunder. But instead of exploding and destroying everything for hundreds of miles around, it just sat there in the crater it had made. Emergency teams rushed to the site, expecting to find radiation or fire or death. Instead, they found something that looked like a giant metal egg, humming quietly to itself. Dr. Hyunwoo arrived at the crash site 6 hours later, along with So-Young and a team of other scientists. The military had set up a perimeter around the crater, and soldiers with radiation detectors were everywhere. But the readings were strange. The object was giving off energy, but not the deadly kind they had expected. "It is beautiful," So-Young whispered as they stood at the edge of the crater, looking down at the alien device. The metal surface was covered in patterns that seemed to shift and move in the light. Strange symbols were carved into its sides, and a soft blue glow came from cracks in its surface. Hyunwoo could not stop staring. "This is technology we have never seen before. Look at those energy readings. Whatever is inside that thing is more advanced than anything humans have ever built." General Shin joined them at the crater's edge. "Can you figure out what it is supposed to do?" "We need to get closer," Hyunwoo said. We need to study it properly. But, sir, I think this might be some kind of bomb. A bomb that did not go off. The general was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone. Good. If someone sent us a bomb, maybe we can learn how to make our own. Over the next few days, scientists from around the world came to study the alien device. They built a research station around the crater and brought in equipment to scan the object from every angle. What they found was amazing and terrifying at the same time. The device was definitely a weapon, designed to release enormous amounts of energy all at once. But something had gone wrong with its timing system. The bomb was supposed to explode when it hit the ground, but Earth's magnetic field had interfered with its electronics. Instead of destroying the planet, it had simply turned itself off and waited. Dr. Yoonji Lee, a quantum mechanics expert from Seoul National University, made the first breakthrough. The weapon works by breaking apart the tiny particles that hold matter together, she explained to the research team. It does not just make a big explosion, it makes everything around it fall apart at the most basic level. How much damage could it do if it worked properly? Asked Dr. Sang-Min Yu, a theoretical physicist who had flown in from Busan. Yoonji checked her calculations twice before answering. If this device had worked as designed, it would have cracked our planet like an egg. Everything on Earth would, be dead within 3 days. The team worked in shifts, studying the alien technology around the clock. They discovered that the weapons builders were incredibly advanced, but they had built their device in a very simple way. It was powerful, but not very efficient. It used enormous amounts of energy to do something that could probably be done with much less power. Whoever made this is not very creative, So Young said during one of their late-night research sessions. They just throw massive amounts of energy at a problem until it goes away. Humans would never build something this wasteful. Hyunwoo nodded. We have always had to make do with less. That has made us better at finding smart solutions instead of just using brute force. As the days passed, more alien ships appeared on their deep space sensors. Something was coming to Earth, and it was coming fast. The aliens who had sent the bomb were probably wondering why their weapon had not worked. Soon they would come, to finish the job in person. But the humans were not sitting around waiting to die. They were learning, they were adapting, and they were starting to get some very interesting ideas about what to do with their unexpected gift from the stars. The research station around the alien bomb had grown into a small city in just 2 weeks. Scientists from every major country on Earth had come to study the device, bringing their best equipment and their brightest minds. The mountain valley that had been empty before the crash was now full of laboratories, living quarters, and the constant hum of generators powering dozens of research projects. Dr. Hyunwoo barely slept anymore. The alien device was the most fascinating thing he had ever seen, and every day brought new discoveries. He stood in the main laboratory looking at a holographic display that showed the bomb's internal structure. The technology was so advanced that human computers could barely process the information they were gathering. The quantum core is definitely destabilizing, Dr. Yoonji Lee said, pointing to fluctuating energy readings on her screen. We have maybe 2 weeks before it either explodes or becomes completely dead. If we want to understand how this thing works, we need to figure it out soon. Jin Ho Nam, the lead engineer on the project, wiped sweat from his forehead. He had been trying to build a device that could safely interact with the alien technology for days, and every attempt had failed. The problem is that we do not understand their basic principles, he said. It is like trying to fix a computer when you do not know what electricity is. Mi Young Choi looked up from her materials analysis station. She had been studying pieces of the alien metal that had broken off during the crash, and what she had found was incredible. Their materials science is hundreds of years ahead of ours, she said. This metal can withstand temperatures that would melt anything we can make. But look at this. She showed them a microscopic image of the metal's structure. It is actually very simple. They just use brute force to make it strong instead of using clever design. So Young joined the group, carrying a tablet full of new data. I have been analyzing their energy systems, she said. The same pattern appears everywhere. They use massive amounts of power to do simple things. It is like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Hyunwoo studied the information his team had gathered. An idea was starting to form in his mind, but it was so crazy that he was afraid to say it out loud. What if, he said slowly, We could take their technology and make it better. The laboratory went quiet. Jin-Ho was the first to speak. Better how? Think about it, Hyun-woo said, his excitement growing. Humans have always had to do more with less. We have gotten very good at finding efficient solutions to problems. What if we applied human engineering principles to alien technology, Doctor? Sang-Min Yu had been listening from across the room. He walked over to join the discussion, his face serious. You are talking about modifying an alien weapon. That sounds very dangerous. Everything about this situation is dangerous, So-young pointed out. Our deep space sensors are picking up more alien ships every day. They are definitely coming here, probably to finish what their bomb was supposed to start. General Shin entered the laboratory at that moment, followed by several military advisors. He had been visiting the research station every day, and Hyun-woo could see the worry on his face growing stronger each time. What is our status, doctors? The general asked. Yoonji summarized their findings. The weapon is definitely alien in origin, and it was designed to destroy planets. It failed to work because Earth's magnetic field interfered with its detonation sequence. But it is still dangerous. The quantum core is becoming unstable. How unstable? General Shin asked. It might explode randomly in the next 2 weeks, Jin-Ho said. Or it might just shut down completely. We cannot predict which will happen first. The general nodded. And the alien ships heading toward Earth? 6 large vessels, traveling faster than anything we have ever seen, So-young reported. They will arrive in approximately 1 month. General Shin was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he looked at Hyun-woo. Dr. Kim, I can see something in your eyes. You have an idea. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. Sir, we think we might be able to modify the alien weapon. Make it work better than it was originally designed to work. If we can do that, we might have a way to defend Earth. One of the military advisors stepped forward. Modify an alien bomb? That sounds like the fastest way to accidentally blow ourselves up. Maybe, Hyun-woo admitted, but doing nothing means we all die anyway when those alien ships arrive. At least this way, we have a chance to fight back. General Shin studied the alien device through the laboratory's reinforced windows. What would you need? Time, resources, and permission to take some very big risks, So-young said. You have all 3, the general replied. But I want progress. Reports every 6 hours. If this starts to look too dangerous, we shut it down immediately. Over the next week, the research team worked harder than they had ever worked in their lives. They carefully removed pieces of the alien device and studied them in isolation. Each component was more advanced than anything humans had ever built, but the underlying principles were surprisingly simple. Look at this power coupling, Mi-young said, showing Hyun-woo a piece of alien technology the size of a coffee cup. It channels enough energy to power a city, but it does it in the most inefficient way possible. A human engineer would design this completely differently. Jin-Ho had been working on the weapon's targeting system. Same story here, he said. This guidance computer is incredibly powerful, but it only knows how to do one thing. It finds a target and flies toward it in a straight line. No evasion, no adaptation, no intelligence. Dr. Haiwan Jung, a xenobiologist who had joined the team to study the alien communication systems they had found in the device, made an important discovery. I have been analyzing the data stored in their computer systems, she said. These aliens have been using the same weapon design for over 300 years. They have never modified it or improved it. They just build the same thing over and over again. Why would they do that? Yoonji asked. Because it works, Hee-won explained. They have used this weapon to destroy dozens of worlds. They probably see no reason to change something that has been successful for so long. Sang-min looked up from his theoretical calculations. That is their weakness, he said. They do not innovate. They do not adapt. They just use overwhelming force to solve every problem. But we do innovate, Hyun-woo said. We adapt. We improve things. What if we took their weapon and applied human thinking to it? The team spent the next several days designing modifications to the alien bomb. Instead of using brute force to break apart matter, they could use precise quantum manipulation to achieve the same result with much less energy. Instead of a simple targeting system, they could add adaptive guidance that could avoid enemy defenses. The most important improvement, So Young said, is range. Their original weapon could only destroy one planet. With our modifications, we could affect an entire star system. That seems like overkill, Jin-Ho said. Not if we want to make sure the aliens never come back, General Shin replied. He had been listening to their progress reports, and Hyun-woo could see approval in his eyes. Professor Kyung-ho Bae, a systems integration expert, solved the biggest problem they faced. We cannot just modify their bomb, he said. We need a way to deliver it. The aliens will be expecting some kind of resistance when they arrive. We need to get our weapon close to them without being detected. What do you suggest? Hyun-woo asked. We combine their technology with ours, Kyung-ho explained. We use their quantum drive system for faster-than-light travel, but we wrap it in human stealth technology. We can create a delivery system that is invisible to their sensors. So, plan was ambitious and dangerous. They would take the alien bomb apart completely, rebuild it using human engineering principles, and then launch it back at the aliens using a hybrid propulsion system that had never been tested. Everything had to work perfectly, or Earth would have no defense when the alien fleet arrived. There is one more thing, Haiwan said during their final planning meeting. I have been studying their communications protocols. These aliens think adaptation is weakness. They believe that changing or improving technology means admitting that the original design was flawed. To them, their unchanging weapons are proof of their superiority. That is good for us, Sang-min said. It means they will not be expecting us to turn their own weapon against them. As the team prepared to begin the modification process, Hyun-woo felt both excitement and terror. They were about to attempt something that had never been done before. They were going to take alien technology and make it better. If they succeeded, Earth might survive. If they failed, at least they would go down fighting. The modification process began at dawn on a cold Monday morning. The research station was busier than it had ever been, with teams of scientists and engineers working around the clock to disassemble the alien weapon. Every piece had to be carefully removed, studied, and then either improved or completely redesigned. Dr. So-Young Park stood in the main laboratory, watching as robotic arms carefully extracted the quantum core from the alien device. This was the most dangerous part of the entire project. The core contained enough energy to vaporize half the mountain, and it was becoming more unstable every day. One wrong move could kill everyone within 50 miles. Readings are stable, reported Dr. Yoon-ji Lee, monitoring the energy output from her station. The containment field is holding, but barely. We have maybe 6 hours before we need to shut down for the day. Captain Jae-sung Kwon watched the proceedings from the observation deck above the laboratory floor. He was a former test pilot who had been chosen to lead the military side of the project. His job was to figure out how to turn the scientists' theoretical improvements into a working weapon that could actually be used in combat. This is insane, he muttered to his aide. We are taking apart a bomb that could destroy the planet, rebuilding it to be even more powerful, and then planning to shoot it at aliens who have technology hundreds of years ahead of ours. Yes, sir, his aide replied. But what choice do we have? Down in the laboratory, Hyun-woo was working with Jin-Ho Nam to redesign the weapon's power distribution system. The alien version was built like a sledgehammer, designed to release all its energy at once in a massive, uncontrolled explosion. The human version would be more like a scalpel, capable of precise control over exactly how and where the energy was released. Look at this, Jin-Ho said, pointing to blueprints displayed on his computer screen. The aliens use a single massive power conduit to channel energy from the core to the detonation chamber. It is simple but incredibly wasteful. At least 60% of the energy is lost as heat. What if we use multiple smaller conduits instead? Hyun-woo suggested. We could route the energy more efficiently and have better control over the output. Exactly what I was thinking, Jin-Ho said. And if we add quantum dampening fields at each junction, we can actually increase the total energy output while using less fuel. Mi-young Choi had been working on improving the weapon's materials. The alien bomb was built to survive the stress of interstellar travel and planetary impact, but it was massively over-engineered. By using human metallurgy techniques, she could create components that were lighter, stronger, and more flexible than the originals. The alien materials are impressive, she explained to Professor Kyung-ho Bae, but they are designed for durability, not efficiency. They wanted something that would never break, even if it was 10 times heavier than it needed to be. Can you make it lighter without sacrificing strength? Kyung-ho asked. Better than that, Mi-young said with a smile. I can make it lighter and stronger. Human composite materials can do things that solid alien metal cannot. The biggest breakthrough came from Dr. Sang-Min Yu, who had been working on the theoretical physics behind the weapon's operation. The alien bomb worked by creating quantum disruption fields that broke apart the bonds holding matter together. It was devastating but crude, like using a nuclear weapon to light a candle. I think I know how to make this much more efficient, Sang-Min announced during the daily team meeting. Instead of randomly disrupting quantum fields, we can create targeted resonance patterns. We can make the weapon choose exactly which molecular bonds to break and which ones to leave alone. What does that mean in practical terms? Captain Kwan asked. It means we can make the weapon selective, So-young explained. Instead of destroying everything in its path, it can target specific types of matter. We could make it only affect artificial materials, for example, while leaving natural substances untouched. General Shin had been following the project's progress closely, and he could see the excitement growing among the scientists. But he also knew that time was running out. The alien fleet was getting closer every day, and there were still major problems to solve. What about delivery? He asked during his daily briefing. It does not matter how good our weapon is if we cannot get it close enough to the aliens to use it. Captain Kwan had been working on that exact problem. We are combining alien and human technology for the delivery system, he explained. The alien quantum drive can move faster than light, but it is easy to detect. Human stealth technology can make things invisible to sensors, but our ships are too slow to reach the aliens before they get to Earth. So we use both, Kyung-ho added. We wrap the alien drive in human stealth fields. The result should be a delivery system that can travel faster than light while remaining completely invisible. Should be? General Shin asked. You do not sound certain. We have never tested anything like this before, Captain Kwan admitted. We are basically guessing that the two technologies will work together instead of interfering with each other. What happens if they do interfere? Best case scenario, the stealth system fails and the aliens detect our weapon coming, Kyung-ho said. Worst case scenario, the interaction between the two systems creates a quantum feedback loop that destroys our weapon before it reaches its target. General Shin was quiet for a moment. And if we do nothing? The aliens arrive in 3 weeks and destroy Earth, So-young replied. Then we take the risk, the general decided. The next phase of the project involved actually building the modified weapon. This was where theory met reality, and where months of careful planning could be ruined by a single miscalculation. The team worked in shifts, with some scientists sleeping in the laboratory so they could monitor the weapon's construction around the clock. Dr. Hai-Wan-jung had been studying the alien communication systems, trying to understand how their technology worked and how it might be vulnerable. What she discovered was both encouraging and disturbing. The aliens have incredibly advanced technology, she reported, but they use it in very predictable ways. They do not adapt their tactics to different situations. They just apply overwhelming force until their problems go away. That could work in our favor, Captain Kwan said. If they are not used to adapting, they might not know how to respond when we do something unexpected. There is something else, Hewan continued. I have been analyzing their historical records, and it looks like they have never encountered serious resistance before. Every species they have attacked has either surrendered immediately or been destroyed by their first weapon. They have never had to fight a real war. So they have all this advanced technology, but no experience using it in actual combat? Hyun-woo asked. Exactly. They are used to intimidating their enemies into submission. They are not used to enemies who fight back intelligently. As the weapon neared completion, the team faced their final challenge: testing. They could not test the weapon at full power without risking the destruction of Earth. But they needed to make sure their modifications actually worked. The solution was to build a scaled-down version that used the same principles, but with much less energy. The test took place in an underground chamber 3 miles from the main research station. The prototype weapon was only as powerful as a conventional bomb, but it used the same quantum disruption technology as the full-scale version. If the test worked, they would know their modifications were sound. If it failed, they would have, to start over with less than 2 weeks remaining before the alien fleet arrived. "Initiating test sequence," Jinho announced over the intercom. "All stations report ready." "Quantum core is stable," Yunji reported. "Targeting system is active," Mi-young added. "Stealth field is operational," Kyung-ho confirmed. Hyun-woo stood in the control room, his hand hovering over the activation button. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. If the test succeeded, Earth might have a chance. If it failed, they were out of time and out of options. "Test firing in 3, 2, 1, he announced and pressed the button. The prototype weapon activated with a soft humming sound. On the monitoring screens, they could see quantum fields forming around the target, a large block of alien metal they had saved from the original bomb. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the metal simply vanished, breaking apart at the molecular level so completely that it left no trace behind. "Test successful," So-young announced, and the control room erupted in cheers. They had done it. They had taken alien technology and made it better. Now all they had to do was build the full-scale version and find a way to deliver it to the alien fleet before Earth was destroyed. The easy part was over. The alien fleet appeared on Earth's sensors like ghosts materializing from the darkness of space. 6 massive ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Corthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the small blue planet that should have been a lifeless rock by now. "Admiral, we are detecting no signs of planetary destruction," his sensor officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. "The quantum fusion device should have detonated weeks ago." Corthan's tentacles curled with annoyance. The weapon had never failed before, not in over 300 years of conquest. Perhaps the primitive inhabitants found a way to disable it, he said. "No matter, we will finish this task ourselves." On Earth, Fleet Admiral Dong-Hyun Lee sat in the hidden command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Banks of computers surrounded him, displaying data from sensors placed throughout the solar system. The alien ships were exactly where the scientists had predicted they would appear, and they were moving toward Earth in a formation that had probably not changed in centuries. "Contact all stations," Admiral Lee commanded. "Operation Boomerang is now active. All units move to Phase 1 positions." The plan was elegantly simple in concept, but terrifyingly complex in execution. Earth's modified weapon was ready, mounted in a stealth ship that combined the best of human and alien technology. The ship would approach the alien fleet while invisible, deliver the enhanced quantum device to their flagship, and then try to escape before the weapon detonated. Wing Commander Yoo-jin Seo made final checks on her spacecraft in the hidden hangar, built inside a mountain in South Korea. The ship looked like nothing that had ever flown before, its hull covered in panels that bent light around it, while its interior housed an alien quantum drive that could push it faster than light itself. "All systems are green," her engineer reported. "The stealth field is operating at maximum efficiency, and the quantum drive is ready for activation." Yoo-jin nodded, trying to calm the nervous energy building in her chest. She was about to attempt something that had never been done before. Pilot an untested spacecraft using alien technology to deliver a weapon that could destroy star systems. If anything went wrong, Earth would have no second chance. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim watched from the Launch Control Center as the final preparations were made. The weapon they had created was beautiful in its terrifying complexity, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien power that represented the best and worst of both species. It was smaller than the original alien bomb, but infinitely more dangerous. "The quantum resonance field is stable," Dr. So-young Park reported from her monitoring station. "All safety systems are active and ready. Target acquisition is locked," added Jinho Nam. "The weapon will automatically seek out the largest energy signature in the alien fleet once it is activated." General Shin stood beside the scientists, his face grim with determination. "Commander Seo, you understand the mission parameters?" "Yes." "Sir," Yoo-jin replied over the communication system. "Approach the alien fleet under stealth, penetrate their formation, deploy the weapon near their flagship, and return to Earth. And if return is not possible?" Yoo-jin was quiet for a moment. "Then I ensure the weapon reaches its target, sir." The launch was almost anticlimactic. The stealth ship simply vanished from the hangar, its drive system so advanced that it made no sound and left no visible trail. On the sensors, Eugen's ship appeared as nothing more than a brief distortion in space before disappearing completely. Admiral Corthon was reviewing tactical displays when his fleet detected something unusual. "Admiral, our sensors are picking up strange energy readings from the third planet," the sensor officer reported. "It appears the inhabitants are using some form of primitive technology." "Primitive technology?" Corthon laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Show me." On the main screen, images appeared of human spacecraft rising from Earth's surface. They were tiny compared to the Velthari ships, and their weapons looked pathetically weak. A few missiles, some energy beams, nothing that could seriously threaten. Ships designed to conquer worlds. "Shall we destroy them, Admiral?" the weapons officer asked. "Let them come," Corthon replied. "Perhaps watching their pitiful fleet be annihilated will teach them the futility of resistance before we glass their world." Eugen guided her invisible ship through the chaos of the approaching battle. The human fleet was putting up a brave fight, but their weapons barely scratched the alien ship's shields. The real purpose of the human attack was to provide distraction, to make the aliens focus on the obvious threat while the real danger approached unseen. "Stealth systems holding steady," she reported to Earth Command. "I am now within the alien formation." No signs of detection. The alien flagship was enormous, its hull covered with weapon ports that could reduce planets to ash. Eugen had studied the ship's design for weeks, looking for the perfect place to deploy the enhanced quantum weapon. She found it near the ship's main power core, where the explosion would have maximum effect. "Target acquired," she transmitted. "Beginning weapon deployment sequence. In the depths of space, invisible to alien sensors, a small device detached from Eugen's ship and drifted toward the flagship. The weapon was no larger than a briefcase, but it contained enough destructive power to tear apart the molecular structure of everything within 1,000 miles. Admiral Corthon was growing bored with the one-sided battle when his tactical officer suddenly screamed a warning. "Admiral, unknown object detected. It is right next to us." On the screen, a small shape appeared, seeming to materialize from nowhere. For a moment, Corthon thought it might be debris from one of the destroyed human ships. Then he realized what he was looking at. "It is a weapon," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. "The primitives have somehow approached us undetected." "Shall I target it with our point defense systems?" the weapons officer asked. "Too late," Corthon whispered, watching the device begin to glow with an ominous light. Eugen was already accelerating away from the alien fleet when her sensors detected energy spikes from the weapon. The device was beginning its activation sequence, and she had perhaps 30 seconds before it detonated. Her ship was fast, but probably not fast enough to escape the explosion completely. "This is Commander CO," she transmitted to Earth. "Weapon deployed successfully. I am attempting to clear the blast radius, but..." Her transmission was cut off as alien fighters finally detected her ship and opened fire. The stealth field collapsed under the enemy barrage, revealing Eugen's ship as it raced desperately away from the alien fleet. Energy beams and missiles converged on her position, and she knew there was no escape. She had completed her mission, but she would not survive to see its results. "Earth Command, this is Eugen," she said calmly into her microphone. "Tell my family I was proud to serve, and tell the aliens that humans do not give up easily." The enhanced quantum weapon detonated at exactly the moment alien fire destroyed Eugen's ship, but instead of a simple explosion, the device created something far more devastating. Quantum fields erupted outward from the point of detonation, spreading through space faster than light itself. The effect on the alien ships was immediate and catastrophic. Their hulls began to disintegrate at the molecular level as the quantum fields disrupted the bonds holding their matter together. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the fleet as ships that had conquered 100 worlds began falling apart like houses made of sand. Admiral Corthon watched in horror as his flagship's hull peeled away in layers, revealing the complex machinery within. "This is impossible," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "How did the primitives create something like this?" His sensor officer, working frantically at a console that was literally dissolving around him, looked up with fear in his alien eyes. Admiral, the weapon is using our own technology, but it has been modified somehow. It is more efficient, more powerful than anything we have ever built. That cannot be, Corthon replied. We are the masters of quantum physics. No primitive species could improve upon our designs. But the evidence was all around him. The fleet, that had seemed invincible moments before, was now debris floating in space. Ships that had taken decades to build were being reduced to their component atoms in seconds. The quantum field was spreading through the entire formation, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Send a message to the homeworld, Corthon ordered as his ship's bridge began to crumble around him. Tell them the humans are not what they appear to be. Tell them... His voice was cut off as the quantum field reached the ship's communication system. On Earth, Admiral Lee watched the sensor displays as the alien fleet simply vanished from existence. Where 6 massive warships had been moments before, there was now nothing but empty space and rapidly dispersing particles. Target destroyed, the sensor operator reported. All alien vessels have been eliminated. The command center erupted in cheers, but Admiral Lee remained focused on his displays. The immediate threat was over, but the war was far from finished. Somewhere in the depths of space, the alien empire would be wondering what had happened to their fleet. Eventually, they would send more ships to investigate, but when they came, they would find Earth ready for them. The news of the fleet's destruction reached the Velthari homeworld 3 weeks later, carried by an automated probe that had witnessed the battle from a safe distance. Emperor Zekthos sat on his crystalline throne, reading the report with growing disbelief. In over 1,000 years of expansion, no alien species had ever successfully fought back against the Empire. Most surrendered after seeing a single demonstration of Velthari power. "Show me the recordings again," the Emperor commanded, his multiple eyes focusing on the holographic display that materialized before him. The images were grainy and distorted, but they clearly showed 6 of his most powerful warships being destroyed by a weapon that seemed to tear them apart at the molecular level. "Our analysts believe the humans somehow captured our quantum fusion device and modified it," reported General Velnox, the Emperor's chief military advisor. "The energy signatures match our technology, but the efficiency levels are impossible. No species should be able to improve upon our designs." Emperor Zekthos was silent for a long moment, studying the images of his destroyed fleet. "What do we know about these humans?" "They are a young species, barely out of their primitive stage," General Velnox replied. "Our scouts classified them as harmless when we first discovered their world. They do not even have faster-than-light travel. And yet they destroyed Admiral Corthon's entire fleet," the Emperor said quietly. "How many species have we conquered, General?" "Over 800, Your Imperial Majesty." "And how many have ever successfully resisted our quantum fusion weapons?" "None, Your Majesty, until now." The Emperor rose from his throne and walked to the massive window that looked out over his capital city. Millions of Velthari citizens went about their daily lives below, secure in the knowledge that their empire was the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had no idea that everything they believed might be wrong. On Earth, President Minho Kang stood before a joint session of the world's leaders, preparing to reveal the truth about the alien attack and humanity's response. The secret had been kept for months, but now that the immediate threat was over, the people of Earth deserved to know what had happened. "My fellow citizens of Earth," President Kang began, his voice broadcast to every television, radio, and internet connection on the planet. 3 months ago, an alien civilization attempted to destroy our world. They sent a weapon capable of cracking planets, believing that humanity would be wiped out within days. The world listened in stunned silence as President Kang explained how the alien bomb had failed to detonate, how Earth's scientists had studied the device, and how they had eventually turned the aliens' own technology against them. "The alien fleet that came to finish what their weapon had started no longer exists," he continued. "Humanity not only survived their attack, but demonstrated that we will not be conquered or intimidated by anyone." In the research station that had once housed the alien bomb, Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim and his team were already working on new projects. The successful modification of alien technology had opened up possibilities that seemed like science fiction just months before. They were developing new propulsion systems, advanced weapons, and defensive technologies that would ensure Earth could defend itself against future threats. The quantum field generators are working perfectly, Dr. So-Young Park reported, studying data from their latest experiment. We can now create localized space-time distortions that make our ships effectively invisible to any known detection method. Jinho Nam looked up from his engineering station. The new drive systems are even more impressive. We can travel faster than light while using a fraction of the energy the aliens required. Their technology was powerful but incredibly wasteful. What about the manufacturing systems? Hyun-woo asked. Mi-young has made incredible progress, So-young replied. We can now produce materials that are stronger and lighter than anything the aliens ever created. Their metallurgy was advanced but primitive compared to what we can do now. General Shin visited the laboratory every day, overseeing the transformation of Earth's defensive capabilities. The world was changing rapidly as governments worked together to prepare for whatever might come next. The alien attack had united humanity in a way that nothing else could have accomplished. How long before we have a full defensive fleet? He asked during his daily briefing. 6 months for the first squadron, Captain Kwan reported. 2 years for a full fleet capable of defending the entire solar system. 5 years to have enough ships to take the fight to them. Take the fight to them? General Shin asked. Sir, we cannot just wait for the next alien attack, Captain Kwan explained. Eventually, they will send a larger fleet, or use different weapons, or find some way around our defenses. The only way to ensure Earth's safety is to make sure they never want to attack us again. Dr. Hyeon-jung had been studying the alien technology and communication systems, learning everything she could about the Velthari Empire. What she had discovered was both encouraging and disturbing. They rule over 800 conquered worlds, she reported to the Defense Council, but their empire is built on fear and intimidation rather than actual military strength. They have never had to fight a real war because every species they encountered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed by their first attack. What does that mean for us? President Kang asked. It means they have no experience dealing with an enemy that fights back intelligently, Hyeon explained. They are used to overwhelming their opponents with superior technology, but they have no tactical flexibility. They do not know how to adapt when their standard methods fail. Professor Kyung-ho Bae had been working on humanity's most ambitious project yet, a probe that could travel to the Velthari homeworld and deliver a message. The probe would use the same hybrid technology that had made Yujin's stealth ship possible, but on a much larger scale. The probe is ready for launch, he announced. It carries a demonstration device based on our modified quantum technology, along with a message explaining exactly what will happen if the aliens ever threaten Earth again. The message had been carefully crafted by linguists and diplomats, translated into the alien language using information recovered from their bomb. It was simple and direct. You sent us one bomb. We are returning it to you, improved. This is a warning. Do not test humanity again. The launch took place on a quiet Tuesday morning. The probe simply vanished from its launch platform, beginning a journey that would take it across the galaxy to the heart of the alien empire. It carried with it a demonstration of human ingenuity that would ensure the Velthari understood exactly what they were dealing with. Emperor Zekthos was in his private chambers when the human probe materialized in orbit around his homeworld. His security forces detected it immediately, but before they could react, the device activated. High above the planet's surface, a controlled quantum detonation created a brief artificial star that could be seen from anywhere on the planet's surface. The probe then transmitted its message on every communication frequency the Velthari used. The translation was perfect, the meaning unmistakable. The humans were not interested in conquest or expansion. They simply wanted to be left alone. But if anyone threatened Earth again, the consequences would be severe. How did they find us? General Velnox asked, staring at the message display in shock. Our homeworld's location is one of our most closely guarded secrets. They used our own technology against us, the Emperor replied, understanding dawning in his voice. They took the quantum fusion device we sent them, studied it, improved it, and then used it to find us. What are your orders, Your Imperial Majesty? Emperor Zekthos was quiet for a long time, considering his options. He could send a larger fleet to Earth, but the humans had already proven they could turn alien technology against its creators. He could try to negotiate, but the Velthari Empire had never negotiated with anyone before. Or he could do something that no Velthari emperor had ever done. Leave a potential enemy alone. "Send word to all fleet commanders," he finally said. "The system containing the planet Earth is to be marked as forbidden territory. No Velthari ship is to approach within 100 light-years of that region." "Sir, are we surrendering to primitives?" "No, General. We are acknowledging that these humans are not primitives. They are something we have never encountered before. A species that becomes more dangerous when threatened. It is better to leave such creatures alone." On Earth, humanity continued to grow and advance. The alien attack had accelerated human technological development by centuries, opening up possibilities that had once seemed like distant dreams. But more importantly, it had shown humanity what they could accomplish when they worked together toward a common goal. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant. They seemed full of possibilities, waiting for a species brave enough and clever enough to claim them. Humanity had learned that they were not alone in the universe, but they had also learned that being alone was not necessarily a bad thing. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same.